Thank you very much, Bruce. Thanks to Patrick, Bruce, and Joanna for inviting me here today. Thanks to all of you for making it through the cold London morning and the usual tube shenanigans. I'll do my best to warm you up a little bit. I'm going to talk about the commercialization of customer centricity. Kind of strange, isn't it, that in 2020 we have to talk about the value of putting customers first, but I actually believe that we do, and I'm probably one of the main protagonists for that. I'm going to spend about the next 20 minutes talking about me because it's a very important subject close to my heart. I'm sure you're okay with that. Good. So I've had the privilege of working for some amazing brands. I've been head of multi-channel operations for the likes of Burberry, Pentland Brands, Harrods, and Ted Baker, amongst others. I've also been a board advisor, or I am a board advisor with a couple of companies in the technology space, Afterpay and Yext. I've also been a non-exec director in a bunch of retail businesses. I was recently presenting to my beloved Glasgow Celtic Football Club, and I was talking to the board and I was saying that I used to be an ed on the boards of all these different businesses, and of course I'd been away from Glasgow for so long I completely forgot that that's what an ed looks like in Glasgow. So I suppose the moral is be careful how you use your three-letter acronyms. They might mean something else. I got involved in this space quite early, 1997-98. That was my flashy Mercedes CLK, registration plate W66 for web, WWW for World Wide Web. And that was my daughter Antonia, more of her later. She was about 2 years of age then. So got a wee bit ahead of myself, unfortunately, because a few years later, like probably a number of people in the room, I went through the old dot-com sort of bomb, if you like, the crash and burn, which ultimately many years later, 17 years later, served me up for success. And I built a business called Practicology that hopefully some of you may have heard of. It's a consulting business. We grew it to 100 people with offices in London, Dubai, Hong Kong, China, and Australia. And we sold the business in 2018, and I exited in December of that year. I've written a book called 100 Practical Ways to Improve Customer Experience, which was shortlisted for the Business Book of the Year last year. I didn't win it, which I thought was a bit out of order, giving it to someone else, but you can make your own mind up. I've launched a site called Customer Service Action. So I guess my big pivot is that I've spent 37 years working in retail or around retail and really in a sort of B2C, business to consumer role. And now I see myself more C2B. So I call myself the consumer champion. And I'm now representing consumers, and you may be hearing from me in the near future on that front. You'll occasionally see me my ugly mug propping up on Sky and other television and radio sources. I have got a face for radio, so I tend to stick to that more than TV. Glad the humor's working well. Self-deprecation, you know, they say start with self-deprecation and it goes well after that. Cast your mind back to 1994. I think I'll put this bottle of water down. 1994 began the democratization of retail. So what I mean by that is that up until 1994, arguably, retailers had the balance of power. If you think back as a consumer, we had limited choice. We had our local high streets. We had the odd catalogue, possibly, and we had the odd out-of-town shopping centre. But by and large, it was about high street retail. Consumers didn't have a lot of choice. And of course, the internet began to change all of that because it opened up a plethora of options. Some of you may remember, if you talk to Pizza Hut, they'll tell you the first product bought online was a mushroom and pepperoni pizza. I'm led to believe it was a Sting CD. For those of you that are under 30 years of age, I'll come and explain what that means later. CD, that is, and Sting. Retail is going through its biggest transition ever. And obviously, we've heard all the news and we've seen a lot of businesses sadly go to the wall in the last couple of years. But I'll give you my view of why I think that's happening. Because I think what's happening is we're moving from selling stuff, the goods era, to the services era. So previously, it was all about selling products. And I think now it's about delivering experiences. Previously, it was all about competitors. Now it has to be about customers, because if you don't have a laser focus on them, you have no business in the future. Previously, from a management point of view, you had to be certain about the decisions you made and what you invested in. I don't believe that's the case now. I think now it's about entrepreneurship and having confidence or enough confidence to trial something, test and learn. Previously, it was about outsourcing. Now it's about employee engagement. Crazy that it's waited. It's 2020 and we're only talking really about proper employee engagement now. I'm going to talk about that more later. Previously, it was about hierarchical structures. Now it's about collaborative structures. It's about working more closely with different parts of the organization. And previously, it was about big, loud brands, a bit like myself. And now it's about authenticity, and it's about authentic brands. And authentic brands are the ones that will win in the future. And previously, it was about incremental improvement, and now it's about game-changing innovation. Who wants to hear a secret? Yep. Just one of you? Anyone else? A few? Excellent. Who'd have believed it? If you watch the television, read the papers, listen to the radio for the last couple of years, you would think the high street is dead, it's gone, it's never coming back. Well, I don't believe that. Here are 14 different brands, all doing rather nicely right now. Obviously, performance changes, but these brands have been doing well for a while. They're not even all selling online. Primark doesn't even sell online. I appreciate they're not all on the high street, but I could give you a list 2 or 3 times that size of brands that are doing well. All you ever hear about, unfortunately, is the brands that are doing less well. And I firmly believe that a good business is a good business. And the businesses that have gone to the wall weren't good businesses for whatever reason. Either because they were too slow to adapt, they had too many stores, whatever it was, the product wasn't right, pricing wasn't right, they didn't understand their customers well enough. A good business is a good business. Shift happens. Thank you. We're getting there. I believe this is the single, probably most important reason why retailers have gone to the wall in the last few years. Chief executives, of which we have some in the room here, many, or the majority, are incentivized by what happens in the next 12 months. Of course, retail is about today, tomorrow, next week, next month. And we have to make money, because if we don't make money, we don't have a business. But we also need a shareholder base who are going to give our CEOs the flexibility to plan for the future. Because if we can't make investments that don't pay back for a year or year and a half, we may not have a business in a year or a year and a half's time. It can't be about right now and the next 12 months. We've got to give CEOs more flexibility. And just to prove the high street's not dead, who would have imagined, of course, a little business called Amazon would be opening up physical presences? Some of you may have seen this, but it's still a good video to have a look at.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Rolling these out all over the world. Like I said, I'm from Glasgow. I have to be honest with you, in Glasgow, we don't need the technology, we just pick up and go. I've been doing that for years. All this putting customer first stuff is too expensive and it eats into profits. I still have these conversations with boards of directors of retail and other consumer-facing businesses today, and I shake my head in disbelief. That often is the end of the conversation, because if you don't get the fact that being customer-centric has a commercial value, you may be in the wrong business. I like to try and prove the point, so just a small example here. What I've done is I've looked at the share price of 2 businesses and compared them from 2015 to 2019, and I've looked at their Trustpilot score. What do customers actually think about them? So Sports Direct, share price 2015, 805 pence. Share price 2019, this is of last week, 496 pence, down nearly 40%. Trustpilot score of 1.4 out of 5. JD Sports, 173 to 829, up 480% over 4 years. If only I had put some money into JD Sports, which I'm sure a few of you are thinking at the moment. 3.1 out of 5, not perfect, But arguably, for those of you that have been into two different environments, I'm sure you would agree one is much more focused on customers in terms of product, service, how to leverage technology, and so on and so forth. So there is a cause and effect. I'm going to give you now what I think are the 10 most important drivers for delivering commercial success in a customer-centric sense. And number one is absolutely being employee first. So as the good man Richard Branson says, put your staff first, your customers second, and your shareholders third. Seems a bit strange, doesn't it? Sounds a bit back to front to what we're used to. But of course it makes sense, because if you look after your people will look after your customers. And if you do it the other way around, it's not going to work. Now, I created this little new acronym here, excuse the bullet points, called RULES. I talk to people all the time, they say, millennials, Gen Zers, they don't want to be in a business more than 5 minutes. And I say, what a load of rubbish. They don't want to be in a business more than 5 minutes because we create an environment that doesn't work for them. We don't remunerate them well enough. We don't understand them or empathize with them. We don't give them any learning and development. We don't teach them new skills. We don't empower them to do the right thing for customers. And we don't tell them that there's a succession plan and you can actually grow your career in the business. Look at the retailers who are still running businesses today. Some of them started on the shop floor. I don't get the sense that that's achievable anymore. I don't get the sense that we're nurturing talent and giving them the opportunity to grow within the business. Just on the fact of empowerment, the contact center team at AO.com, who I'm sure you know sell fridge freezers, washing machines, and tumble dryers, they're empowered to make decisions up to £5,000. None of this having to go through 5 layers of decision-making or waiting a week to get an answer from the brand that you've had an issue with. Your whole kitchen could break down and they can make a decision straight away. That's great service. The second is understanding core segments of customers and the type of experience they want to have. Who can tell me what that is? Don't be sheepish. She's coughing out there. I know she's desperate to give me an answer. Anyone? It's a line of sheep. It really is a line of sheep. It's not a trick question. And sometimes I've been at the front of that line of sheep, and sometimes I've been a bit further back following other sheep. And what I mean is that often in this industry, we kind of follow what everyone else does, which isn't always necessarily the right thing to do. And I do think there's a balance because, as Henry Ford said, if he'd asked customers what they wanted all those years ago, 100 years ago or whatever, they'd have said a faster horse. So you've got to get the balance right, but I do believe you need to talk to customers and work out what is it they're looking for. And one brand that does that brilliantly is Dreams. So Mike Logue, who's a friend of mine, I think probably one of the top, if not the top CEO in the UK today, runs that business, took over in 2013. The business was essentially bankrupt. It was losing £4 million a year. Fast forward, he created something called Pillow Talk. Nice little play on the brand and the products. And what this does is it captures 3,000 different pieces of customer sentiment every week about what customers like and don't like about the experience in the store, about product, and about online. Fast forward to 2018, they made £43.3 million profit. Do you think that's a fluke? Of course it's not. That guy has got everyone in that business now starting every single meeting with customer insight. What are customers saying? What are the numbers telling us? And what insight can we glean for that? None of this finger in the air anymore. Short story about Sam Walton. Who knows Sam Walton? Or who he was? Walmart, thank you very much. Excuse me, the founder of Walmart. Sam Walton, before he died, visited over 2,000 stores, every store that was going at that time that Walmart had in North America. And he went into the store, and the first thing he did is he went onto the PA and he went, "Hello, my name's Sam Walton. I'm going to be here for the next half an hour if you want to come and ask me a question." Now, I have no idea whether he sounded like that, but he may have done. But what he was doing is he was basically saying to both his colleagues and, more importantly, well, as importantly, colleagues and employees, if you've got something you want to tell us about how we're doing, what's not working well, what could be working better, I'm here, and I'm the man that runs this place. Come and tell me. I don't think we do enough of that anymore. All the great retailers, the Andy Bonds, the Sir Terry Leahys that used to run our big grocery businesses, used to walk the floor, every week. I think we've lost some of that sort of nuance. And even restaurants want a piece of the action. The humor continues to fail. So I was in, I shouldn't really say this, I was in Pizza Hut the other week, and it tastes like pepperoni, no porky. So there you go, tapping into the vegan trend, if you like. It's more than a trend. It's a change of lifestyle for many, many people, and really tapping into that and seeing the opportunity. The third is about leveraging relevant technology to empower customers. So again, not following what everyone else is doing, but implementing things that your customers are actually looking for. This is M&S in Dubai, what you might call the endless I/O. My experience of implementing this technology, which I started doing in the mid-2000s when I was on the client side, is it only works when it's staff assisted. So when you've got your colleagues in the business actually helping customers to place orders on that technology, then it works really well. But if you just shove a kiosk up there and expect a consumer to engage with it, it doesn't happen. Obviously, mobile point of sale. We've all been in many retail stores, and I'm sure increasingly we've probably abandoned our basket. We've walked out due to the frustration of waiting 10 minutes at the checkout. And then we've got augmented reality. So that's me. I'm sure you like my eyeliner and my lipstick. In an amazing store in Times Square, New York, called CoverGirl. Brilliant. If you ever get to New York, go and see that store. I think it's absolutely one of the top retail experiences I think I've ever had, and they've only got one store, so they put a lot of thought into it. Anyway, you don't need to try the product on. Using augmented reality, you can just pick it up, and it shows you essentially what that particular lipstick or eyeliner would look like. Too much information, I know. Number 4 is the shift from value to values and putting purpose before profit. Again, that might sound a bit weird, and to any CFOs in the room, you'll probably be recoiling in horror at the prospect of putting purpose before profit. So this example is Patagonia. And you might remember when Donald Trump came in, he did some smart things in the early stages, and he changed corporation tax, and he gave tax back to a whole bunch of consumer-facing businesses and other businesses. And what Patagonia's CEO did is she took the £10 million and she put it towards the fight against climate change, or on climate change, should I say. And they are the third most trusted and respected brand in the US. Believe it or not, Amazon is the first. Timson. Some of you will have had your high heels reheeled there, your shoes resoled, your keys cut. This little A-board outside the store, if you're unemployed and you need an outfit cleaned for an interview, we'll clean it for free. How amazing is that? They're not a dry cleaner, right? They're saying to their community, we're here to help you, we're part of your community, and if you're looking for work, we'll help you in that journey because we'll clean your suit. Really, really nice. Reviews, 4.3 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Sales in the last 4 years up 43%. So is it a fluke? Or is their performance tied to the fact that they are customer-centric, that they do care about customers, they care about their community, and they care about their employees? Number 5, can't stand the word corporate. Sorry. Certainly not when it's included with social responsibility. So anyone that talks about corporate social responsibility, and no offense to anyone in the room, because you'll probably have a few annual reports there that says corporate social responsibility, you and I both know it's a tick box exercise. You're not really taking this stuff seriously. It's not about being socially responsible. It's about proving to the city, to other shareholders, or to somebody that you're doing something about it. Hotel Chocolat, our Planet Pledge. 100% of our packaging will be compostable, reusable, or recyclable by 2021. None of this 2025, 2030, 2050, all these big numbers that I keep hearing being bandied around. That suits a board. Because let's be honest, most boards of directors will not be there in 2025, 2030, or 2050. So we'll park it. We'll say we're doing something about it, but we'll give ourselves 20 years to sort it out. It's not good enough. What more evidence do we need to see about what's happening and what's changing in the world right now with climate change? So their performance, Hotel Chocolat, share price 2016 to 2020, has gone from 207 pence to 496p, up 140%. Again, I'm not suggesting it's purely because they're a socially responsible business, but what you find with businesses who are focused on that is they have great cultures. They look after their people, they look after their customers, and they do all the right things. Now, this is a bit of a bold statement, but I really believe the age of consumerism is dead. It's a thing of the past. And what I mean by that is consumerism where we just buy whatever we want to buy. I don't think that's going to happen again. If you think about your own behavior, every single person in this room, I'm prepared to place a bet that all of us have started to modify our behavior because of the Greta Thunberg, the Extinction Rebellion effect, if you like, in the last year. Sir David Attenborough. You know, the impact that that's having, our awareness of our own carbon footprint is changing our behavior. And we are, I believe, from this point on, in a world of conscious consumption. We think and will think increasingly about what we're buying, about what we're doing, and what the impact of that is in the environment. I'm not suggesting that everybody's in this place right now, but we're moving towards it pretty quickly. Number 6 is diversity. So these two lovely young ladies are my daughters. Saskia on the left and Tonya on the right. And they've both got hidden disabilities. And they don't mind me showing this. I did ask them before I put it up there. And the reason why I'm showing that is I'm going to show you a video now of, this is somebody who doesn't have a hidden disability. But I think it's really poor how the majority of consumer-facing businesses do quite a bad job of catering for the needs of people who are visibly disabled, never mind those who have hidden disabilities. So have a quick look at this video.
In this video, Patrick talks about his experiences with being refused access with his guide dog Rufus. Patrick and Rufus walk along the street.
A security guard grabbed me by the shoulder and tried to force me out the store because I had Rufus with me. The most common places I'm refused access tend to be supermarkets and high street stores.
Patrick and Rufus walk past some shops.
Gaining a guide dog gave me the confidence to venture back out, but the fact that you, as an individual, still get refused access to services does take a lot to rise above.
Patrick stands outside a supermarket.
It's like a body blow every time you step out your front door.
It's time to end access refusals.
Now, that's the reality that, Patrick is facing into, and many people like him. There are 2 million people in the UK today who have sight loss. So not only is that morally the wrong thing to do, but it's commercially the wrong thing to do. What are the implications of doing that on all the people that have sight loss around the UK? Now, they don't all have guide dogs, but the way we cater for people with sight loss, again, is really not good enough. According to Gallup, retail units that are diverse and engaged have a 46% higher increase in comparable revenue. Today in the UK, nearly 20% of the population consists of an ethnic minority. 60% of the FTSE 100 boards look like that. Really diverse board. 51% of the population is female. How did that happen? I guess you just live longer than us men. That's the only thing I could work out. More importantly, women drive 70 to 80% of all consumer purchasing decisions. Yet, FTSE 350, there are 12 female CEOs, which is down from 18 in 2016, right? Now, that's morally wrong, but it's also commercially ineffective. Why? Because if 70 to 80% of the purchase decisions are made by women, and yet we have 12 female CEOs in the UK out of the top 350 businesses on our stock market, then clearly we've got boards of directors who don't actually understand the customer base that they're selling into. 7, retailers need to become service providers. And I've talked a bit about this earlier. So whether that's a buy now, pay later solution, whether that's no more DIY, don't know about you, but I'm more of a damage it yourself person. So I prefer to go for the do it for me and have other people. So if I'm buying a fence for the garden or I'm buying a television, I'd love to pay somebody the money to actually come and install it for me rather than me making a mess of it and ending up having to go and replace it. Or try before you buy, which I'm sure is something that Metapack and the market will be looking at quite closely in the near future, which is where retailers are opening up their store stock and enabling customers to have things shipped to their house to try on before they make a purchase decision. Number 8 is about having an integrated structure. So the retailers in the room, have a think about this. I'd love to talk to anybody later who can look me in the eye and tell me that you have a truly integrated organizational structure. And by that, I mean every part of the business, marketing, buying, product, merchandising, customer service, technology, range planning, everything is geared up towards making sure that the experience for customers through every touch point is consistent. Because we all know that's largely not the case. Now, I had the privilege in 2015 of sharing a stage with Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the man who invented the World Wide Web at the World Retail Congress, the good-looking guy on the left, that's me. Next to me is Babita Sharma from the BBC. Next to me, the man that invented the World Wide Web, Sir Tim Berners-Lee. And on the right-hand side, a Frenchman whose name I can't remember, nor could I pronounce it, but he is the co-founder of Von Privé, the biggest private sales site in the world. And I got the first question. And that picture is the first question. And Babita Sharma turned to me and said, so Martin, you do a lot of work in retail. What's next? Sorry, you do a lot of work in retail. What's next for the web and what does it mean for retailers? And I kid you not, that is me actually sitting with my mouth open because I was rather flabbergasted to get that question. I thought, why are you asking me what's next for the web when you've got the man who invented the World Wide Web sitting next to you? Anyway, I regained my composure after about 4 seconds and I said, it's not about the web. We live in a multi-channel world. But the problem with channels is we've structured our businesses around channels and not around customers. Silos belong there. They belong in farms. They don't belong in retail businesses. 9 is hyper-localization. I'm going to show you a short, hopefully relatively amusing video. I think you'll find it hard to find a business that has localized on a hyper level more effectively than this one.
The Traffic Jam Whopper. We used real-time data to detect our potential buyers in a traffic jam to offer them a Whopper and deliver on the move.
Fernanda, buenos días. Señor Eduardo, buenas tardes.
¡Ay, qué bello!
Llegaste en chinga, cabrón. Me cagaba de hambre.
Our media was 100% dynamic.
Oh, well, I don't know what happened there, but the video got killed, and it's quite a bit longer than that, so apologies for that. Anyway, the reality is they were actually delivering Whoppers to people stuck in the traffic jam. So I thought that was kind of neat. Burger King are quite good at their guerrilla marketing. Number 10, a customer is for life and not just for Christmas. So I coined that. I wrote that in a Retail Week column about 10 years ago. And yet, when I look around, again, the industry at the moment, I think it's largely still not the focus. We're thinking about the here and now. Now, I only look 28 years of age. I'm sure you all agree, because I use Dermalogica skin cream. I'm not sponsored by Dermalogica yet. And my wife treated me to a little skincare regime for my birthday last year at Liberty in London. And I thought it was really nice, and I bought myself some new products, which I still use to this day. Probably don't do anything for me, but psychologically they do. Anyway, here is an example of the email communication I get from Liberty. I'm sure you agree it's very targeted, very personalized, and very much based on what I buy, not. If I were buying the products that you saw me wearing when I was at CoverGirl in New York, maybe. But the skincare regime I have, not very relevant. So no attempt whatsoever to actually send me any relevant communication. Again, this is 2020. That's just not good enough. And Amazon, arguably the best retailer, or probably most successful retailer in the world right now. Have a look at this. There you go. How many toilet seats does any one person need? So the algorithms don't always work. According to the Harvard Business Review, who may know a thing or two more than I do, a 5% increase in customer retention leads to a 25 to 95% increase in profit. So this stuff pays. It pays to do this. It's so commercially important to be customer-centric in everything that you do. How about for the CFOs, go back to them and say for the next business case that you put to them, let's not think about return on investment. Instead, let's think about return on involvement. Imagine we involve our customers more and what the implications of that might be. Now, this is my local barbers and Cockforsters in London. I was in there last Saturday. I was having a wee trim. That's my barber on the left called Alex. 5 Greek Cypriot barbers in Cockforsters in North London. And they have 240,000 followers on Instagram. And see those flags below of all those countries? That's where they go and do, that's where they're going to do training. They're delivering training around the world. They're coming out to rooms like this with 500 to 1,000 people. They're treated like rock stars because of the great haircuts that they do and the way that they've used social media to promote themselves. So if they can do that, anyone can do it, because there are many people sitting out here that have much bigger brands and have far less engagement on Instagram or other social media channels. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, my name is Martin Newman, and if you didn't, it's Nigel Farage. Thank you.